condemning one of its own anchors, Jeanine Pirro, after comments made during her show Saturday night. Pirro questioned Congresswoman Ilhan Omar's allegiances because Omar wears a head covering. Listen to this.
Think about it. Omar wears a hijab, which according to the Quran 33:59 tells women to cover so they won't get molested. Is her adherence to this Islamic doctrine indicative of her adherence to Sharia law, which in itself is antithetical to the United States Constitution? And joining me now with reaction to my opening statement and much more, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. All right, good evening, Congressman. I understand that even you yourself were involved a bit in in some of these tropes, where you made a comment and Ilhan Omar actually came after you.
Well, in that first, when she tweeted about all about the Benjamins, that was referring to an article that a reporter wrote that I was asking Nancy Pelosi to stand up to these new Democrat socialists who are making these anti-Semitic comments. And, Judge, this is the week these new Democrat socialists have taken over the party. They've taken over the leadership because they won this week. Nancy Pelosi said she was going to stand up to her and move a resolution that just dealt with this subject. It wouldn't name her, and she couldn't even pass that. She had to water it down. They now own the Democratic Party, which is now the Democrat Socialist Party. And you were correct. When you appease, history has taught us, there is a rise of anti-Semitism. We already stood up to Congresswoman Omar just a few weeks ago, and she just repeated it, even, which I believe worst, questioning the allegiance and the alliance of American Jews. Could they be true to America? We heard these questions asked, history in the past, and what did history say? And we can never allow that to repeat itself. That's why it's so important, not one party, but all America stands up to this.
But you know what, Congressman, I understand that Nancy Pelosi is you know, look, she's been the speaker twice. And as a woman, I mean, she is probably, in terms of women in Congress, I mean, she's the most powerful woman in Congress. I mean, and it has been.
By far.
By far. So, and she's the
Not
one.
This week.
Didn't her daughter say something like she'll stab you in the back or cut you and you won't even know you've been cut? So
yes.
Why did she bend? What happened? Is she worried that these young women are going to take over? Is she watching the attention that they're getting and therefore is concerned about her own future?
Well, remember what took place. She was on the cover of the Rolling Stones with the young new congresswomen who call themselves Democrat socialists. That's not what I say. That's what they call themselves. Right. Then we heard the comments that Congresswoman Omar said. You had the Jewish members stand up and say, this is wrong, she should apologize. And then the Democrat leadership said, we're going to stand up, because last time it was the Republican Party who stood up and brought it to the floor.
Right.
But they had to backtrack. We know Speaker Pelosi is a very strong woman, but she lost this week. She had to backpedal and say no, she couldn't bring that to the floor.
Why?
And then she had
I still don't know why.
Congresswoman Cortez stood up and defended Congresswoman Omar. You had the new progressives that are running presidentially.
So we got three women there. They're going to scare Nancy Pelosi?
They did, and I think that is the new movement in this Democrat Socialist Party. They have overtaken this leadership. You watched it happen this week. This is the mark of the date of the week that they have now overtaken the Democratic Party.
And I'm going to ask you one last question. Bernie Sanders made this statement. He said, what I fear going on in the House is an effort to target Congresswoman Omar as a way of stifling debate, and that's wrong. I mean, talk about turning the aggressor into the victim. I mean, and then, by the way, she's taken a victory lap. She never even apologized to anyone. She's going to double down again.
Think of this. The first time she went forward, when the Republicans threatened to bring a resolution to the floor, the Democrats said she needed to apologize. This time, she repeats it, and they don't even say she has to apologize. When we had somebody of our own party in the Republican Party say something that we disagreed with as Americans, disagreed with as the party of Lincoln, the Republicans stood up and removed him from committees. The Democrats keep her on foreign affairs. I think there's a real contrast here in leadership. But what is scary to me as an American, when I see the rise of anti-Semitism around the world, and I see appeasement and what history has taught us about appeasement, I know those people, I know the Democrats on the other side of the aisle, many of them did not want to see this end the way it did. They want to stand up to her, and that's what I believe is wrong.
They better learn. They better learn. Leader Kevin McCarthy, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Judge.